good morning, and great morning, guys. Welcome to another fabulous episode of Exit Strategies Radio Show. Hey, I'm your host, Colin J. Millett, broker and owner of Exit Realty, Low Country Group in beautiful North Charleston, South Carolina. Hey, if this is your first time listening to this show, you, sir or ma'am, are in for a treat because our mission here is very, very simple, and that is to empower our community through financial literacy and real estate education. So, guys, look, y'all have been on an amazing journey with us. I am so fascinated by the trajectory and the direction that our show has taken. I am always humbled by the guests that we've been able to secure to bring to the table to have a conversation with you. And it's, to me, it's like sitting down at the kitchen table and just talking and getting to know someone. I love it. And I'm having an amazing time doing it. And from the feedback that I'm getting from you all, thank you all so much that tune in. Some of you faithfully, some of you a little bit more religiously. And look, I'm going to tell y'all that difference one day. But you know, the faithful, look here, they always hear the religious. We show up on occasion. But for y'all that do both of that at any point in time, please, please, please accept my gratitude for doing so because it means a lot. It means that we are reaching the people that we're trying to reach, that we're spreading, if you will, good news, that we're giving people good hope because we're giving them good options. And today is no different. Guys, look, we got a mixture here. We got real estate and finance today. We got none other than Brian Grimes. Now, Brian, I got to give you a little bit about him before I ask him to tell his version. He is a certified financial planner. You know what that means? That means he know how to make that money do right. Some of y'all ain't got y'all money taking your money in the cone over there looking and growling at you and barking at you and stuff like that. You know, now you bring that dog home, that dog in the corner and get aggressive. Your money getting aggressive and not in a good way. It ain't attacking other people. It's attacking you. So he is the guy. He is a guy that knows how to do that. But here's the other side, the flip side of that. Brian has figured out how to get that money so trained that when he says sit, it sit, then it asks him, you want me to lay down too? He done figured this thing here out. So look, guys, today, none other than Brian Grimes. Brian is the CEO of the 24/7. I love it. All day, all night, 24/7 Cashflow University. Brian, how you doing today?
Doing great. Thanks for the wonderful intro. Appreciate it.
Well, look here, I charge for them sometime, but today you get that one for free. So look, I had to put that thing together, man, because you're doing amazing things. So I don't want to take away from the show. We're gonna have a great time, listeners, as you already see and know. But Brian, tell my listeners about you. Our listeners, who are you? What do you do?
I'm a guy who is insanely locked in on definitely just wealth planning, building wealth. And wealth, a lot of us, especially within our community, we haven't really learned what wealth is. When we think about money, we think about getting rich. And we look at some of the icons who are rich. But wealth is not about having a lot of money. Wealth is an equation. And the equation is taking your fixed expenses and then having passive income that can exceed those fixed monthly expenses. So let's say you live off of $2,000 a month. You got $1,000 a month mortgage, $500 for food, $100 phone bill, whatever your monthly expenditure is. If you had $4,000 a month in cash flow, you would be wealthy because you wouldn't have to get up and go to work to live, right? So wealth is just an equation of getting that cash flow to exceed your monthly expenses. And when you start to look at it that way, you can start to pursue opportunities that focus on wealth building. And when you just stay locked in on that, it's not long before you will break free from your 9 to 5, from the rat race, from all the things that have been holding you back, and start to live that lifestyle of abundance through wealth building, and then start to help others. And that's really what I stay focused in on a daily basis.
So, you know, what I just heard you say is that, look here, we got this thing here all wrong. We got wealth categorized merely as how much money you make versus how much money you keep. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It is. We look at what you can buy, what you can acquire. Can I get that car? Those things are kind of insignificant. I mean, if you have to get up and what you don't know is like, I worked at a boutique firm, a high net worth firm where we managed about 1.4 billion for 300 privately wealthy families. So people with a lot of money. There were
Hmm.
some people who are making $10 million a year and living paycheck to paycheck. So
Uh-huh.
I've gotten to sit across the table and see that, where the average person never sees that. They think everyone making millions is just like their hands are folded, they're on an island somewhere. No, there are people making millions and living paycheck to paycheck because they don't understand what wealth is. They don't understand that equation. So they're just consuming, consuming, and there is no end to consumption. Whereas you can make $5,000 a month in cash flow and be wealthy because you don't have to get up and go to work every day.
Uh-huh.
So there are all different levels to this thing. And having seen them, it's very clear to me what people should be pursuing versus what's a distraction, the shiny thing that is constantly distracting you from having financial freedom.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Man, look here. Hold on. We could have ended with that one. But look here, I appreciate that we just get started with that because that just opened up, Brian, so many things in my mind just now and so many questions to put to you. But let me back you up though, because I want our listeners to know you work for a Fortune 500 firm, Ivy League, educated. You're in all those places and those spaces to encounter all those people. But you graduated from Columbia College in 2011. What did you do after that?
Yeah, so I'll give a little prequel and then we'll get into what I did after. I grew up a basketball guy, like in
Okay.
Philly, Allen Iverson era. I wanted to play pro, essentially. I grew to be about 6'5" by the age of 13, 14. Was nationally ranked, nationally recruited, did the Nike camps. My first high school game, they flew us out to Akron, Ohio to play some guy named LeBron James.
Oh,
And
wow.
YouTube wasn't out. So we didn't really, you couldn't see these people at this time. It was, you just heard it. We landed on a private jet in Akron and we were on the van. They turn on the radio and we're hearing our names on the radio. And we're like teenagers essentially. So that was basketball kind of took me all over the place, landed me at Columbia. And what was unique about Columbia is I got access to mentors who were doing things. They were making more money with their mind than they were with their bodies. These were all former athletes. So it kind of exposed me to that. So when I got out of college, I had a lot of sports injuries. Like basketball wasn't going to be it. I had to reinvent myself essentially. So go through that rebirth into finance. And I got into financial planning. I knew I wanted to do two things. I wanted to help people and to educate themselves financially. And I wanted to be my own boss. I'm an entrepreneur by nature. My parents were entrepreneurs and still are. And I wanted to do my own thing. I wanted to call the shots. So I started working 100% commission at a sales organization, AXA Advisors. We were helping people with insurance and annuity planning.
Mhm.
And I was cold calling attorneys. I probably made $5,000 my first year working. I essentially paid to work. But as I'm doing this, I'm driving all through the city. I'm going all around Philly and I'm meeting different types of people at different levels, but I'm seeing the real estate. I'm seeing the locations. I'm seeing the activity because I'm in my car all day
Mhm.
driving meetings. And I knew from just researching real estate and the freedom that that could provide in terms of cash flow, that that was really what I needed to focus on because the cash flow in real estate beat everything. Like it beat the cash flow of anything that I pursued, anything that I looked at. So I knew like every dime I'm gonna make off this job, I'm putting in real estate, and that's essentially what I did. I saved for 2 years, studied, and I eventually got one big commission check. I took that, I bought my first property, and I never looked back. Now I've purchased over 300 properties at this point in the last decade, but I just never looked back from that first check, that first cash flow check from my first rental property.
So you have a particular strategy as it relates to your real estate acquisition. You do the BRR type method. And if you don't mind for our listeners, Brian, if you can kind of break that down as to what that is and as we continue the conversation.
Yes, the Burr method, you're going to buy these properties. You're typically buying properties that are in shell condition. You're going to renovate them. So you want to full gut renovate them. You're going to then get a tenant in place. You're going to rent them out so that there's cash flow coming out of that property now. So you're restoring like the neighborhood, rebuilding those dilapidated properties, renting them out, refinance your money out. So we're actually going in with construction loans on these deals. And then when we're done, we force depreciation. We refinance all of our money out of the deal. All the money I put in, I pull back out. And then we repeat that process over and over again. So I did not start off with a lot of capital. I started off broke. I made 5,000 my first year. Nobody in my family was really like making a ton of money or doing like big things at this time, right? So I'm just bootstrapping my way. But because you can refinance out and even do cash out refinances at times, you can recycle your capital in and out of these deals. So you can turn, let's say you had $15,000-$20,000, you could turn that into a 20-30 property portfolio with this strategy over the course of time, as long as you just keep executing and as long as you have the knowledge and the different resources and relationships out there.
That's awesome, man. One of the things that we really talk about, Brian, on this show is just that about the different strategies and leveraging. So riding in the car, I always like to ask people, like, forgive this pun, but what was your driver for you doing what you're doing? And for you, it was in the car looking at all this stuff. So you focused on providing, and in your bio, it tells me affordable options, but you focused on really being of service, but also running a business. Is that fair?
It is fair. I mean, look, when you learn how to renovate properties for a living, full gut renovate, you could do that anywhere. I mean, if you know how to do a ground up deal, even you could buy that land in an A-class neighborhood in center city of wherever you're at, or you could go do it in where I would call like the hood, in the C-class neighborhoods, in the neighborhoods like the ones that I grew up in and that many of us grew up in. My passion is restoring neighborhoods, is actually going and putting quality housing in the C-class neighborhoods, giving them those hardwood floors, granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, waterfall shower heads, and doing that and creating that product for Section 8 housing or affordable housing, workforce housing. To me, it has more of a community impact. And the reason why I started the 24/7 Cashflow University was because I looked at my impact. I went back into my neighborhood I grew up in. I built over 250 houses there. And then I looked and said, how can I have more impact? Well, I can either go build 1,000 more houses by myself, or I can go create 1,000 developers that can go and rebuild their communities nationally or across the world. Because we have people in the mentorship program from Canada, New Zealand, like outside of the country even. And that was more mission-based for me, was to actually go build the people who can then go build the community, who can then, in their journey to create themselves into a millionaire, create hundreds of jobs for other contractors, put food on the table, restore properties in the neighborhood, bring back community pride, put properties back on the municipal payroll because now they're paying the water bill, the electric bill, those utilities, where a lot of us are working at those public companies for the city, getting those city pensions. So we're restoring our community pride and rebuilding neighborhoods, creating affordable housing. It's just like a win-win-win. So when you do good, good is done for you. I mean, you will become a millionaire if you stick with real estate. But to me, it's not necessarily just about that. It's about the totality of what we're doing and how we're restoring each other.
I had a conversation, it's been some months ago, I was speaking with an investor, and at the time, she was either negotiating or had just closed on the transaction or was in process somewhere at either beginning, middle, or towards the end of the transaction, where basically she bought a whole town. Like, I don't know how in the world she did that, but she bought this entire town, and her intent was to go in, small town, but go in and essentially rehab and rebuild the town, commercial, housing, all that stuff. And she was systematically working through that. You made mention of, so let's get around to the 24/7 Cashflow University. That I imagine, I tell people on this show that Exit Strategies is my baby. It's my give back to the community, how I seek to serve. So tell us about the 24/7 Cashflow University, Brian.
Do you want something more? More meaningful moments, opportunities, deeper relationships, and memorable experiences? Do you want to make a difference? If you said yes, a career in real estate could be the opportunity you're looking for. Guiding people through one of the most important decisions they'll ever make, the purchase or sale of their home, can be both rewarding and lucrative. Exit Realty's revolutionary compensation model, training, and technology provides you with the tools you need to start and build your successful real estate career. Call me today, Robin Collins, ROBYN Collins with Red Robin Homes at 843-557-5003. Again, that's 843-557-5003. Or visit me at redrobinhomes.com/join exit and make your exit today.
Yeah. So what it does is it teaches you what I call the 6 core strategies of real estate investing. So the problem with most real estate mentorship programs, courses that are out there is they just teach you one strategy. There's like the Airbnb guy. There's the buy and flip guy. There's the buy and hold guy. Then there's the guy, oh, don't even touch the real estate. Just buy the paper. Just, invest in the tax certs and the tax deeds and the tax liens. Then there's the land guy. Whoever controls the dirt controls the deal. You have all this philosophy out there. But the reality is, with real estate, the market's constantly ebbing and flowing. It's constantly changing. It's like that philosopher says, you can't step in the same river twice because it's constantly flowing. So because it's constantly changing, no matter what one strategy you are doing today, it will become obsolete at some point if you only have that one strategy, because the market's going to ebb and that strategy is not going to work right now. It might work again 5 years from now, but it ain't going to work right now. So you need 6 strategies at least. You need multiple strategies so that as the market is ebbing and flowing, you can shift your strategy to adapt to the market. Now, when you start doing this, you become a free thinking investor who can navigate any real estate market. And free thinking investors who can navigate any market make money. They say it's not how good you're doing now, it's how long you're doing good. And you do good for longer when you have multiple strategies and you are adaptive to the market versus somebody who only has one strategy. And that's what we focus on teaching you. And that's why our people do better. We also do one-on-one mentorship versus just like that group approach where you don't know anybody. Like I work with all of my mentees one-on-one. And when you get to learn from somebody who's done hundreds of deals and lost over $500,000 in this game, you can accelerate much faster than somebody who gets no access or is learning from somebody who's barely done a deal. So it's a unique mentorship program. It's not for everybody, but for those who are in it, they swear by it.
So that's interesting. I was talking to someone recently. So basically, someone gets to learn from your mistakes.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, this was a conversation I was telling someone, and for our listeners, I know you've heard me say this a few times over the years, but there's a saying that the average millionaire goes broke 3 times. And the reason why they still make it is because, one, they don't give up. Once you've gotten to a certain place, if you have to go back and do it again, you know how to get back to that same place and you know where you went wrong. So you take a different direction and you grow and you go. And what you just said was, well, wait a minute, look here, I've done this. I've been through this. So I'm going to help you accelerate at least to this point because I've already been through all of that. And if people would just plug in and listen, then they will get to where they want to go so much faster. Because again, you've already been through some of that. You can share the pitfalls or what you think you did wrong in that so they don't have to make the same mistakes. It's like, forgive the reference, man, but it's like raising children. We're raising people, but I get it. So you have a portfolio now. So I'm going to ask this question, but I want to get over on to the students and the people that you coach. But you currently have a portfolio that's roughly about how many properties now, Brian?
It's in the hundreds. I mean, it's hundreds of properties and it's scattered. So it's in multiple cities, country as well. Yeah.
Okay. And the people that you coach, so you're currently coaching people all across the country?
Yeah, we're coaching people all across the country and even outside of the country. So it's actually kind of like you were mentioning your platform, like it's going international. These things tend to grow when you're doing good for people, the word will spread. Yeah.
When you said that, I'm drop this in here is I tell people on my real estate bucket list, when I tell somebody I can close a deal in China, that's probably indication that I'm done. I'm about ready to hang it up because that's on my real estate bucket list to do a deal in China, right? I don't know why, but that's just on my real estate bucket list. But Brian, people that you coach, so what does that process look like? So people start with a consultation with you or a member of your team. What does that look like?
Yeah, so people will start once somebody joins the mentorship program. I mean, there's different ways to get to me and kind of tap in. But once somebody decides, yes, I'm ready to make that transformation, it all starts with a one-on-one consultation with me. We get together on a one-on-one Zoom call. We talk about your goals, objectives, and we lay out a custom strategy for you, like just for you. And that's the problem as well with this business is there's so many cookie cutter approaches, but we're all individuals. So we'll lay it out. And then we give you a detailed action plan. Hey, do this, contact this real estate attorney, contact this lender. We'll tap you into all of our resources that we can help you with as well. And then you start taking those action steps. You get text and email support. We do mastermind calls. We have physical boots on the ground ride alongs for our people that will do quarterly. So people are flying in from all over the country into Philly. I'm showing them the operation. meeting contractors, walking through full gut renovation projects. So we're giving you the physical one-on-one, the private Zoom calls, the text and email directly with me. So you can just pick my brain and ask questions. And then the mastermind calls weekly, and then the course content that breaks down how I went from 0 to over 300 properties over the course of a decade, all the trials and tribulations, all the mistakes, how to accelerate faster, how to invest without cash and credit, even if you're starting off like in that situation where you only have a few dollars. So we're just breaking the whole spectrum of the game down for you.
That's awesome, man. Flying in, man, that's commitment. So obviously your participants, they're fully committed, to this process, to making sure they learn and they glean as much as they can from you. So as you talk through, you made mention, again, there's a lot of different strategies and a lot of ways to quote unquote chop up the pie. Do you kind of assess or cater towards a particular type of investment? Meaning, if someone comes in, okay, well, look, is this what you're looking for? Okay, this is how this works. And then you cater to that, or do you advise them to kind of, okay, well, look, you should consider this, and then direct them in a different way?
That's a great question. I think there are two starting points with real estate investing, and it depends on, because people ask me this, what's the best deals or what's the best strategy? And I say, well, it depends on where you're starting at. So there's two starting points. One is going to be you're starting off with no cash and little to no credit or bad credit. So if you're starting off there, there's going to be more of a creative financing play. How do you go after motivated sellers, people who are in pre-foreclosure, foreclosure, people who just inherited a property? How do you get in front of them? And then how can you solve their problems in a way that is creative, that encourages seller financing on that deal so that you don't have to bring cash to the table and so that you don't need any credit. You don't have to qualify with the bank. So that's going to be an approach for people who fall in that bucket. It's going to be educating you on the strategies that exist and then showing you how to get in front of the right people at the right time to then educate them on how you can bring them creative solutions to their problems. And when you do that, it's a win-win. You're going to win. They're going to win. Everybody's going to win. And there are scenarios where you can get a property deeded over to you for $1 and then take that property, rent to own it to somebody else who has bad credit, create a profit spread, and without even having to be a landlord. So there's a variety of different strategies. That would be like a subject to deal. Then there's people who are starting with capital. And I have like what I would call my 24/7 cash flow method, which is we target flip deals that will have a average profit target of around $50,000 per deal. So we're going to show you how to target those deals, where to find them, how to get in front of them, how to get them under contract, and how to execute on them, and how to get them financed with 100% lenders that'll give you all the money to acquire and renovate these properties. And then taking those profits from those flip deals and parking them in buy and hold multifamily cash flow assets and or co-living deals, which is where we will take a single family, break it up into a series of master suites, and then rent them out individually. That's an affordable housing wrinkle that 3X's your cash flow on your average property. It will take your rent from $1,350 a month to $2,350 a month on the same size property. So those two methods, cash without cash or credit, or the 24/7 cash flow method, target and flip deals, reinvest in those profits. We also have a program, my Boots on the Ground program, where we do it all for you. So let's say somebody came in, like I have a client from New Zealand, and he wants to invest in U.S. real estate. Or we have clients from like California, they're priced out. They want to invest in cheaper markets like Philly. We'll actually find the properties, connect you with the lenders, and build the houses for you, and tenant them, property manage them for you, a discount. So we have a full service Boots on the Ground program where we do it all for you as well. Because some people have capital, but they're too busy to get into the real estate. So we've solved that as well.
Yeah, that is definitely the case. There's a lot of people that have means, have wealth, but they don't have time because their time is invested elsewhere. And the investment of their time is what makes them their money.
Yeah.
So, exactly. And it's hard for sometimes, Brian, for people, for people to understand that, well, why wouldn't you go do this? Well, if I have time and my value here and it pays me well, then taking my time to go do this is not going to pay me. I can send my money over here. My money can make money, but my time makes money over here. So I got money in both places instead of me losing money to go give my time somewhere else to get money. It's hard to fathom.
Yeah.
So Brian, before we get to the end of the day show, how can people get in contact with you?
People can get in contact with me on a variety of platforms. One is like LinkedIn, Brian Grimes Real Estate on LinkedIn. You'll find me. You can Google Brian Grimes Explains, and you'll find a lot of my real estate content. On YouTube, my YouTube channel is Brian Loves Cashflow. It's easy to remember because I love cash flow. So Brian Loves Cashflow on YouTube. Instagram, Brian Grimes _ 247 CFU for the 24/7 Cashflow University. And all of those different platforms will backlink to a free training on www.workwithgrimes.com/cashflow. Workwithgrimes.com/cashflow. It's a free training that'll show you how to acquire properties for pennies on the dollar all across the country. You don't want to miss out on that free offer.
Wow. Okay. Look here. So I'm pulling this up, man. Listen, y'all need to get in on this right here. Y'all need to make sure y'all is on this thing here right now. Because look, nobody ain't got to give it to you. So when it's given, you need to take advantage of it for sure. So Brian, look, 2 things for you. All right. So I'm gonna phrase it. I call this a mic drop question. It's that thing that if I would have known this then, I would be so much further now. And I know you got probably a tremendous amount of experience. You've lost, as you made mention of, over $500,000 over the course of learning your way. What would it be if you could tell someone, hey, look, if I knew this then, I'd be down there now? What would that thing be?
That good mentorship is 10 times better than any partnership you can imagine, because partnership costs probably 100x more than mentorship. A mentor can give you the knowledge, the mistakes, the lessons, everything that you kind of really want from a partnership, because you're really partnering because you're afraid, because you think that partner is going to help you to solve problems when you run into them. You kind of want to split the issues. The mentor is going to solve that way better than any partner. And the mentor is not taking 50% of your profits and giving you a headache. So that is what I would say is choose mentorship over partnership. A lot of us, when we're just getting started, we're kind of seeking partnership because we think that's going to fast track us. It actually slows you down long term. So seek mentorship and you'll be more successful much sooner.
Wow. Okay. All right. The next thing I'm going to ask you, Brian, is, and I'm going to ask you this, and this is a new question for our listeners, but what is your hope? What is it that you hope to accomplish with the 24/7 Cashflow University? So when people tag or hook in, they plug into you, what do you hope to accomplish with this organization and with this mission?
I want to create more. I believe that our community's number one problem is a lack of real estate education. Real estate education is financial education at the end of the day. And most of the wealth in America, maybe 90% or more of it, is built through real estate. So the historic redlining, all the things that our community has dealt with over the time has disencouraged us going into real estate education to a degree. So we lack it. And in communities, if you think about it, communities where the people who live there don't own it are destroyed, right? Because of the lack of ownership, the lack of education to get to that ownership. So a lot of our problems, if we actually go to the root of it, outside of the household and structural problems there, is really a lack of real estate education, financial education. Because if we owned our own communities, they wouldn't get torn up to this level. There would be more community pride. There would be more control. But because of the lack of ownership, it kind of goes wherever it goes. So I would say my goal is really to educate more people and to help more people to break free from the 9-to-5. Financial freedom is key. We all share one thing on this planet, which is time. We all have that same thing. Everybody's got 24 hours in a day. And what you do with it, what you stay locked into, will determine your output. So I want people to have more time to be free thinkers, to have that financial freedom, not to be wealthy and go freaking buy a yacht, but to actually be a free thinker who can now improve others and your own community. That's the ultimate goal and mission behind this, is to rebuild that neighborhood by rebuilding the mind around real estate and education.
Brian, thank you for sharing that. And I'm going to share this with you, because when you talk about the red line, for some of our listeners, if you're a real estate professional, you've been around long enough, you know, redlining was a practice. It was where banks would circle areas and red lines so they would not do loans in those particular areas. But we have the opportunity now in our community to turn those red lines green.
Yeah.
So take that one, Brian, and apply that as you go forward, my brother, because you are out here turning the red lines green.
I love that. I love that. That's amazing. That's the best way to put it.
So, Brian, look, man, thank you so much for being on the show today. Thank you for being a part of the Exit Strategy Radio Show family. For our listeners, guys, mind blown. Please reach out. Please get connected. Please pick up this wealth of information, because seemingly since you started talking, Brian, it's like M&Ms, man. You leave a trail of M&Ms. Y'all, you leaving sweet candy on the ground, man, for people to find their way. So I really appreciate you being on the show with us today.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. For our listeners, guys, final time, y'all know what I do. Y'all know how I feel. Y'all know what I say. Y'all know I always put the two of those things together, and I say it to you this way, which is I love you. I love you. I love you. And we're going to see you guys